All right, everyone. Welcome back from lunch. We're going to get the afternoon kicked off with Steve Mancini. He's going to do a brief intro of his talk, so I'm going to hand it over to him.
Good afternoon. I'm the quiet one sitting in the back of the room. You thought this guy's going to be bored who's really speaking here, and you're probably right. But I'll do it nonetheless. Quick introduction. My name is Steve Mancini. I am actually the Chief Technical Officer, Director of Strategic Operations, and I spearhead all training for the National Cyber Forensics and Training Alliance. And before I go into the talk, I'm going to kind of tell you what the NCFTA is, and then I'm going to kind of lay out the landscape, if you will, and then I'm going to go through about 5 slides and tell you a couple of quick war stories, and then leave it for some Q&A. So hopefully I'll at least get you to think about some things. Everything you want to know about where to buy hookers and blow, that's the point of this. Yep. All right. So first point, I'll tell you what, I'm kind of like a British comedian. I'll say something and I won't laugh. You have to decide, was he serious or was he kidding? So let me talk about the NCFTA real quick. So NCFTA, we're a nonprofit and we are actually located right in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And what we do, we've been doing this since 2002, is kind of a unique mission. We actually co-locate pretty much all the major federal law enforcement agencies and a bunch of industry folks in our facility. So I don't know if you've heard of something called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. It's called NCMEC. Very important mission, very similar kind of model. In fact, when we were founded in the late 90s, it was actually the FBI High-Tech Crimes Task Force that was out of Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh field office at the time, working with industry saying, listen, we need a place to go work together because you can't come into our government facilities and it's going to look weird having the government show up in your facility, so we need something in the middle. And so they kind of modeled us a little bit after that. And they said, we need is what we'll call Cyber Switzerland, and that's what we are. So we are a nonprofit 501c3, and been around since 2002. We're headquartered out of Pittsburgh. We have opened up a few places in New York, LA, and Charlotte. And like I said, we're co-locating law enforcement. For what? And I'm going to get to the dark web here. I'll get to the buzzword soup here in a second. But let me kind of tell you the mission, because then it'll make this make more sense. So you hear a lot of presentations, and you hear a lot of buzzword central. And one thing you've been hearing over the last few years, you'll see advertisements on radio, and people are supposed to listen to the radio. Am I the only one? Help me, somebody. I appreciate it. 905. It's Pittsburgh. I know this is Johnstown, but you're technically almost Pittsburgh. Almost. And the other flip side, the nice thing about Pittsburgh is it's always 1986. Music, style, look. Good news. When I was driving through Johnstown for the first time, I said, it's always 1979 here. It's close. But I like it. Because I'm born and bred in Pittsburgh, so I can appreciate that. And I just totally lost my train of thought. But what happens is, there are things that people say, we need more cybersecurity professionals. Oh, that sounds really important. So I'll make this non-rhetorical. If I said to you, I want you to go get a degree in cybersecurity, the guys at Pitt Johnstown, is that your major in cybersecurity? What is the major? What's a major you guys are taking? What is it?
IT.
IT, okay? That's actually better. Because here's what happens. I got you. Here's what happens. Don't worry, dark web's coming. People say I need cybersecurity people, and I will turn around. And by the way, I'm a former governor. I spent 20 years in the military, then I went to work for DHS for a couple of years before I came to NCFTA. So I've been here about 5.5 years. I've been working heavily with government industry for a long time. And they'll say, we need more cybersecurity people. And you say, okay, do what? What does that mean? Are they going to be your reverse engineers for malware? Are they going to be the people sitting on your network devices looking for the weird traffic? Are they going to be secure developers? Are they going to be the people, doing your database design, your EMS systems and all that stuff in development? Are they going to be the web application developers? What does it mean? Because they're all different skill sets, and they all essentially revolve around IT. So if I don't build it right in the first place, there is someone out there who's going to try to exploit it. I'm going to shock you. It turns out there really are bad people in this world. I didn't believe it either. I know. But there are bad people in this world. And And they're going to look for reasons, whatever they are, and I'm actually going to get into that, but they're going to exploit it. So if your IT is not configured right, if your application is not developed, with best practices, if your website's not patched. So for example, this sounds pretty obvious, but I'll give you an example. Let's just say, hypothetically, you're one of the largest stores of all the financial data for every American citizen in the country and all their credit history. You think, they probably got their stuff together. There's no way they wouldn't, leave a website. Thank you. Equifax, by the way. Known vulnerability, was it Shred's vulnerability? I don't know, there's so many vulnerabilities, so much crap goes up here, I can't remember one bad is to the next. So it's a known vulnerability, they decide to not patch, they get exploited, now bad guys run your network. Bad guys can actually make it all the way to the database, steal the records for 140 million Americans, and exfiltrate it, and no one notices. Tell me, what kind of person are you going to hire to fix that? What fix is stupid? I mean, tell me another word for it. My favorite, okay, by the way, I'm going to go to one, I love tangents. Here's a tangent for you. So shortly after Equifax happens, I say, I'm certainly going to get a letter from Pennsylvania, right? I'm going to get a letter from somebody saying your data may have been compromised. But what did Equifax do? They set up this website, you put any of your information in. It turns out the website wasn't secure. It's like, yeah, good idea. I digress. So I'm thinking, surely I'm going to be notified that I'm impacted by Equifax. Well, I didn't get it. So I go see my state rep. Now everybody knows elected officials are pretty smart. British humor, right? Stay with me, folks. Wake up. It's after lunch. I'll wake you up. So I go to her and I said, Pennsylvania really doesn't have any kind of reporting requirements. I said, this Equifax breach. And she said, I've been following it. I don't use them. I'm like, you don't use them in your financials. Everybody's doing great uses them. So by the way, for the record then, I'm probably one of the only Americans who's not a lawyer, somebody selling cyber insurance, no offense to the presenter before, that is actually in favor of GDPR because I think it's one way to protect data, which, if you've been doing this long enough, for the record, I wrote my first Word dialer back in 1983 on a Commodore 64 using a 300-baud modem, a Mighty Mo, you plugged it in the back of a 9-pin dot matrix printer, thank you. So that's all I've been doing this stuff for. I know the boyish face, you can't believe it, huh? This is what no smoking does for you. So anyways, so I've been doing this stuff a long time, and it's all groundhog data to me is the point. So Equifax is nothing new. Now I'm going to go with my other favorite one was OPM. Again, they're on there forever. By the way, this is all going to come back to dark web. It's all going back to threat actors. Come with me on the tangents. I'll bring you back home. So OPM, potentially several breaches on the network for a long time. Government spends how much money on quote, cybersecurity, how many, quote, cybersecurity professionals do we have in the government, and we pay how much for, our Einstein systems, which are supposed to monitor traffic, and that, and he's chuckling, I know you appreciate Einstein. It's okay to laugh, I do all the time. I laughed when I was at DHS, they would talk about it, say, it's just a really expensive IDS that kind of doesn't work. But for the CMU folks in the room, I don't apologize. So that's another breach, and then what's the result of that? Nothing. I did monitoring for in one case it's expired, so apparently my social security number and date of birth will one day expire. It's the British humor again, folks, I'm kidding. It's not expired, you're screwed. You're all screwed from Equifax. All right, these are two breaches, but you all know the reality is how many breaches are going on out there all the time, when breaches are not reported. So that kind of stuff, though, is a more technical crime. That is true cyber crime. I needed some kind of technical skill set. I exploited something. I stole data, and I took it somewhere. I'm getting closer to the dark one. See how it's coming back? All right, now I'm going to switch gears on you. That's all the techie stuff that you're all screwed on. All right, but then there's the non-techie stuff that you're screwed over. Now this morning she mentioned, the very first keynote mentioned the whole email thing. By the way, it's called business email compromise. Let's play Trivial Pursuit. Let's see how screwed we really think we are. So IC3, NCFK also has analysts that are actually embedded with IC3. So we see a lot of these complaints. The idea is every complaint that goes to IC3 actually does get looked at. The problem is if you think law enforcement is going to open up a case on every single complaint, it's not going to happen. What they're going to try and do is say, are these complaints part of something bigger that we may be looking at or something we might want to look at? So if I can take a look at these little one-off losses and I add it up and I see a bunch of money, I see now I'm interested. I reach the threshold of federal payment. So that BEC is very simple. It doesn't take any kind of technical skills. It's just bad guy sends email, and either he spoofs email, or in some cases they will breach an email server and send it from official emails, whether that means actually breaking into the servers or just getting someone's username and password, logging into their Gmail and sending emails from there, whatever. So they send an email to a company and they say, okay, company XYZ, hey, John, this is Mary, your boss. Thank you, equal opportunity. This is Mary, your boss, and I'm on our way to Mexico, and I need you to wire me $12,000. And you say, well, geez, John doesn't lose his job, right? John's whatever, I don't think my money was. So, all right, Mary, here's $12,000, doesn't do his homework. Flip side, you might get someone that sends it to your finance department and says, hey, listen, we're product XYZ, you always pay us. Instead of paying it to this account, we make your payments to this account. Now you're thinking, there's no way people are going to just follow because the email told me to, that they would do these sorts of things. There's the trivia time. How much money do you think is reported losses since 2013 due to that one type of crime? More than $1 million? More than $10 million? More than $100 million? More than $1 billion? More than $5 billion? How about $7 billion in reported losses? Because you know there's a lot of companies out there that will lose some money and go, oh, I ain't saying nothing. We'll just eat it because we don't want to be on the front page of the newspaper because people don't understand. So we were hacked. No, we were stupid. And they don't have to put that on the front page because the email told me to. Tell me these things are making us smarter, and I challenge you. So that's called cyber-enabled crime. It's not necessarily technical, but it's enabled to the use of technology. Another common one that I'll mention here a little bit is drug sales. Opioid epidemic. I get it. There's a lot of doctors that prescribe, the heavy stuff. And doc, I think I hurt my pinky. Can I get, 6 months supply of the freaking hard stuff you got? Oh, sure. I get to kick back from the pharmaceuticals. Told you I wasn't politically correct. Don't care. I'm out of military. I get a pension. So you have that part of it. But thanks, technology, I don't have to go in the corner and get my dime back. Not that I ever did that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go online and I'm going to buy this stuff. Well, I'm not going to use my credit card, however, never underestimate the stupidity of people, but they don't. Great news. Technology has a solution for that. It's called cryptocurrency. And one of the first big ones that really made it was Bitcoin. So now bad guys, or just not even necessarily bad guys, just users, whatever, can now buy cryptocurrency. Where do I buy cryptocurrency? You can buy it online with your credit card, or you can just go down to a Bitcoin ATM. They have it. And now I can take that money, turn it into some kind of cryptocurrency, and I can go into some website that sells the drugs, and I can buy the drugs. Thank you, technology. I'm not a techie person. The person selling the drugs is probably not a techie person. But we're committing a crime that is enabled through the use of cyber. So far, so good? All right. The other thing that happens. The actual number, Steve's opinion, the actual number of no kidding, super ninja, A-League, bad guy hackers probably isn't that high. But what they'll develop with respect to tools and exploits, it's pretty good. It's the term zero day. You don't know it exists. It's a 0 day. And then somebody buys it and uses it. But somebody buying and using it is good enough to use it, but they may not be good enough to develop it. So you have a core group of developers, somebody's buying it and using it, and then they get whatever they're going to get, and it's kind of like Equifax or OPM. Now I've got the data, whatever, the credit cards, whatever it is, and now I want to go sell it to someone else who had no idea even how to use a tool because they're completely techie illiterate. However, they know how to log onto a site and buy stolen credit cards or buy PII, and then turn that into synthetic IDs or identities. So, enter the buzzword. What enables all of that is the, quote, dark web. Now, I'm going to give you one little clue. This is how you're going to know if somebody doesn't know what we're talking about. If people tell you need special software to get to, quote, the dark web, raise the BS flag. Some sites require Tor or I2P, but some of them are internet sites that are out there that you can probably go find if you know where to go look, that you need no special software. How does that happen? How can I sit there and host a site that I'm not hiding, it's out there, you can find it that sells stolen credit cards? Well, somebody must be working with me. Something maybe like a bulletproof post provider sitting in some Eastern European country where law enforcement may not care, turn a blind eye, enables me to set up that website. So those websites, whether it's a Tor site, whether it's I2P or whatever, whether it's just a regular ClearNet site, it's just set up somewhere, they culminate the dark web. You know, the buzzword thing? So that's the dark web. It's just nefarious sites set up to do bad things. But they're the enablers of all of this buffoonery that's going on. Everything from actual exploits, the selling of exploits, selling of drugs, to what do I do with the identities? Oh, by the way, I just ripped them off for $20 million. I need to move the funds, so I'm going to buy into some cryptocurrencies. Then I'm going to use a tumbler, I'm going to push that to some other wallets, I'm going to push it back to another wallet, then I'm going to go to an exchanger. By the way, fun fact, I do teach this for a class, so if you're looking to become a criminal, not that I would ever encourage that, I will give you best practices, but I gave it for a reason, which now is going to actually bring me to the damn presentation. I'm finally there. So that was my intro, and I want to thank you all for coming. No, it actually built up something. So, at the end of the day, that's what the dark web is. So it's funny when you see these commercials now saying, the dark web searching for your stolen identities. It's like, got it. By the time you find it, somebody's already found it and bought it. I'll give you one real world example. There's a site out there that ran anonymous. It's a ClearNet site. You just got to know where to go look for it. They actually tier the release of stolen credit cards. So for example, if you're like a really, really good buyer and you spend lots of money on their site, whenever they get a fresh batch of credit cards, meaning some retailer or something doesn't even know their breach, and they're already selling your credit card information, they get first crack at it. And then they'll wait a couple of days, and if you don't want to buy them, then they'll open it up to other people. So they'll have that kind of, I don't want to call it customer service, but they'll do that sort of thing for you. So they're making this, so all that's out there, and that is the dark web. It's just all of this stuff going on. It's the people selling the exploits, people selling the stolen data, people selling drugs, people offering services. Hey, I have a server in Romania, it's going to be pretty secure for a while. If you want to host your sites on there, I'm going to charge you this much. Oh, you want to launch a phishing campaign? I got a botnet, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. All of that nefarious activity that is going on, this has to happen somewhere. And it happens on these kinds of sites that are out there. And I'm going to get into that because there is the challenge. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people from all over the world collaborating and cooperating from all over the world, and on the sites that are all over the world, and you're going, okay, law enforcement guy who went to Quantico and learned how to shoot his gun straight, climb over a wall, and work on traditional mafia crimes. What I want you to do is to go hunt down this Eastern European cyber ring. Well, it's a computer. So I do have training that I do for law enforcement industry out of NCFT that actually teaches how it all works. Why? Because when you understand how it works, you understand how to get in there. That's the whole point of IT. You can't secure IT if you don't understand how it works. So you can put all the little toys and gadgets on you want. If you have a misconfigured system, or if your password is still password, whatever godforsaken reason we refuse. I'm not saying two-factor is the end-all be-all. But it's got to be better than just username and password. For some of you in the audience, who's seen the movie War Games? Come on. Raise your hand. Good for you. 1983. How does he end up getting in the system? Guesses the password. 1983, he gets in the system, guessing the password. It's the year 2019. Guess how a lot of these things are still happening. Username and password. Have we changed anything? Are we doing anything different? We make the lights better, we make the screens more clicker friendly, and it runs a little faster and all that, but at the end of the day, you go back to that movie War Games, what did he do? He went down a bunch of random phone numbers to a computer answer, kind of like as if at the time that they were using, TCP/IP or something, they use a little Nmap action or ZenMap, which is in case you're afraid of the command line, you can use ZenMap. And he just scanning IP ranges until something sees a service and he goes, that's something to go after. It hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. So you type, you're all screwed. Anyways, so I want to call this a dilemma. This paper was actually published in a journal. That's why Dr. Tomei is one there from Army. He couldn't join us today, but he's the editor for a journal. This was published in the journal, and so it's going to sound a little academic-like, and that's okay. That's what makes it boring. I mean, fun. Oh, by the way, fun fact, I'm also an adjunct professor at Pitt, and I don't know, I would pay money to know what my students think when I'm sitting there just hammering away at the failures of universities. But anyways, as they're like going $100,000 in debt, like, dummies, you're going to work to freaking a 6-month break. Anyways, so So what does constitute, a dark website? What keeps it obscure? I'm telling you, some of them you just install Tor, you bring up Hidden Wiki or something really simple like that, you go Tor sites, and then a whole bunch of them you click on one, hey, random drug site. Oh, okay, congratulations, you're on dark web. It's that simple. So I'll get you there. Seriously, you want to have a good party, a good mixer, let me know. I got you. Now, at the same time, I'm somebody who's saying you have ClearNet sites, Altonym, Hacking Forums, Slill, Backpass, Overstash, all these non-onion sites that are out there, and you're thinking they're just on regular servers. So somebody is hosting this website. Oh, and by the way, since I'm putting in www, some random bad website, XYZ, that means there's a DNS record for it, which means somebody's paying, to register this domain name. So how can bad guys, if they're just operating, intertwined with the good guys, using the same services that the good guys are using? And by the way, at least GDPR, you took away all the WHOIS information. Now we can't see who's registering those bad guy sites. Great idea. So the other thing, now the big thing is, so how, by the way, if there's anybody here who's from ICANN or whatever, please take that message back. I'm kind of screwing this. So then the other $64,000 questions, I'm telling you, there's thousands and thousands of people doing all this. They're not all freaking cyber ninjas. There are some noobs, and there's a whole bunch of people probably intermediate that are using it. Well, it's kind of pretty for real. That is a problem with law enforcement. Law enforcement does a whole bunch of cases. They don't just do cyber. Thanks to cyber, it's making it easier for criminals all over the world to collaborate, cooperate, and get better at their job. But at the end of the day, they still have to worry about things like counterterrorism, and national security stuff, and all of that. Oh, by the way, now throw in all of the criminal organized crime, throw in all the lone wolf criminals, throw in all the, the jihadis and activists, everything else on there. Okay, there's not enough resources. So the fundamental question becomes is, bad guys, especially depending on where they're operating from, have the time to develop and get really, really good. Good guys almost always going to be behind the curve. Because by the time you are working a case, it's going to take years in some cases. And I'll talk about one of them briefly towards the end. Yes, I can do more story. Is that I've given you enough already? So again, what is the dark web? Formally, it is basically a word for scaring companies into signing large vendor contracts. It's kind of like the cloud. It's like AI, machine learning, software as a service. I'm sorry if there's vendors in the room. I love you guys, man. Deep down. Not really. But it is just a buzzword. But just think there are sites set up, but it's nothing new. Some of the folks in the room remember bulletin boards? Who remembers 8-bit porn? Don't lie. Don't say you don't know it. Thank you. Sinners. ASCII porn. That's way behind your time. But so the minute people got a computer in front of them, what they didn't go is, my God, I can solve world hunger. It's like, oh, I'm going to make a naked lady out of dots and slashes. And then, now, Jim down the street needs to see this naked lady with dots. How do I get at the gym down the street? And then they said, the bulletin board. And so they've been doing this stuff. It just seemed harmless because most of infrastructure wasn't necessarily IT enabled. However, let's talk about one quick war story. Who remembers, or knows of, because they're still around, the Chaos Computer Club? If they go to, I've never went to their events in Germany, but something tells me, like, with pot and booze, it would be, computer, man, don't worry about that, just get to the bottom. Not me, still in the government. Told you, entertaining. Nothing else entertaining. I have to be the after lunch guy. So those groups have been around. They have been doing even financial stuff since the 80s. So it's been going on. And there's always been an enabler. The minute two people decide we need to share something beyond academic institutions sharing stuff with ARPANET and all that stuff aside. The minute regular users could get on there, they immediately said, what can we do with this thing? And good humans that we are, it takes a while before we find Jesus, but we say, what can we do with this? It's never going to be a good thing, right? So it's going to always end up something. They've been doing it forever. Remember, look, Computer Fraud Abuse Act was signed in 1986. So thinking how slow Congress is to get anything done, how behind they usually are, the fact that they signed the Computer Fraud Abuse Act in 1986 tells me there have already been enough computer crimes where someone said, as the Italians say, basta, enough, we have got to put a law in place that says, no, technically you can't break into other people's computers and steal their information. So it's nothing new, and there's always been a place to enable that. It's just that now, once that place gets so big and commercial companies jump on and say, we can send reports to your sea levels and scare the hell out of them and tell them, quote, bad guys are doing bad things on the dark web. And then it's like, there's $150,000, I'll get a report every week to update me on that they continue to do that. But the reality is, again, it could be ClearNet, it could be Tor, it could be I2P, it could be whatever. You could be, still on an ICR server, whatever. Internet chat, IRC, and best actors. I get that post-lunch break there. But again, most people think it's only for nefarious activities. But there are Tor sites set up that are whistleblower sites. So there is like that 1% that's not necessarily bad. But a lot of these sites are either fraud sites, legitimate fraud sites, meaning I'm not pretending like I'm selling something just to rip you off. I'm actually really selling something. And it's something you're never going to find unless you're invited in there. How you get invited in there kind of goes back to my point. You have to advance to a certain point. You have to have committed crimes. You have to share something. You have to pay your way in. You have to earn your dues. Otherwise, those top-level guys, they're not going to waste their time with 10,000 script kiddies whose machines popped by some rookie FBI guy who somehow managed to execute on the machine is watching what this kid's doing. They don't want that. So they're going to vet those people. And there is a wide range of folks. And these sites exist all over the world, again, and they're there, and they've been there. It's nothing new. I think it's just more of a numbers game. Once people learn I can make money off something, they all jump in. Whether it's the bad guys saying, well, I can do that, I'm going to do that, or whether it's the good guys saying, you know what, we can scare the hell out of people, telling them that these sites exist, and we're going to go out there and get their credentials back. Do not, but it sounds good, it makes a lot of money. Keeps people employed. So again, now I'm going to go back to these threats, because you have a whole bunch of different threats. This is not meant to be all-inclusive. This is just kind of making the point. You have nation-states, activists, you have organized crime groups, you have individual criminals, you have all of these people out there operating. And by the way, government people, let's say you're in the government. When you go home at night, there's nothing that says, especially if you're more techie guy, you're like, you're one of the agencies, you're law enforcement, you might go home on some forums and learn stuff, not necessarily nefarious. Other countries' government people do that too. They go out to forums and they chat and say, hey, you know what, I'm looking around with this code or that. So they do operate on there. Now, if you think you're going to go onto some website, www.chinaaptsupersecretplans.cn, it ain't going to happen. That's not what you're going to find out there. But they're people, and they're going to hone their skill. And I'll give you one good real-world example. About 6 years ago, Al-Qassam freedom fighters got ratings for DDoSing the banks because of a YouTube video. Where do you think they got some of them tools? They weren't homegrown tools. They just went online to some of these underground forums. They bought the tools. Where do you think they bought them from? Other people. Organized crime, really good criminals. Maybe you even throw in a foreign intelligence agency in there that wants to keep stirring the pot. Because meanwhile, while you're DDoSing the shit out of the banks, pardon my French, that means I can do something with the back end because you're too worried about all this traffic hitting the front door, which may or may not have happened to the tune of money. And what's going on out there? Everything: drugs, exploits, services, counterfeits, PII, financial data. You name a commodity, including everything from human trafficking. You name it. Pick something that can be bought and sold. It is being bought and sold online. The counterfeits is a big one because a lot of people, when they think counterfeits, you're strictly thinking, and a lot of times they're thinking, DVDs and T-shirts. I bring that one up because there are a ton of sites, these online pharmaceutical sites. Again, they're run by someone. They register domains somewhere. They're enabling payment, and they're selling pharmaceuticals. In a lot of cases, they are counterfeits. So when people say, I can't afford cancer drugs, so I go online and buy from a Canadian pharmaceutical. It's not really a Canadian pharmaceutical. In fact, when I tell the Canadian law enforcement that, they go, it's not really us. And I know. I'm trying to hold that. So it happens all the time. So who's behind that? You guys saw President Trump, he's signing these fentanyl executive orders. The Chinese are banning it. So it's pouring into the country. Yeah, I get it. Some of this is coming across the border. But how much fentanyl do I need to make money on it? I could literally fit it in a regular envelope. Oh, by the way, guess where most of, I shouldn't say most, but guess where a lot of the drugs come in through? If you say the mail, you're right. If you said U.S. Postal, you're really right. Because they're shipping it from all over the world. And it's not like, here's your fentanyl, sir. It's like in little envelopes, little packages, and they know how to get around the countermeasures to discover the drugs in the parcels. How do they know that? Because they freaking go on the forums and they say, hey, does anybody know how to get around? I'm trying to ship some drugs. I've seen the conversations. And you know what? The other stoner who's not quite as dumb as you think, they'll be like, oh yeah, just do this. They'll never, and they'll share those best practices. One of the things we like to do in our training is we actually show real posts from bad guys offering up best practices. In fact, there was one site, oh crap, he was in a Majestic Garden, I can't remember what it was. But somebody actually wrote an after-action report from the FBI's takedown of Silk Road. And they posted, they said, oh, here's what Ross did. He should have done this, they should have used this, they should. So they're sharing that kind of information. So what do you think that's doing to the people that are out there trying to do nefarious things? They're getting better, and they don't have to learn with the cuffs around them. They can actually learn by someone else's mistake. And don't worry, there's plenty of bad people out there that will share that with you. So they are getting better because they're helping each other. Meanwhile, back in the good old US of A, you try and go to a company and you say, listen, can you share those indicators with us? We talked to our lawyer, and they said no. Thank you very much, and go bleep yourself. I digress. But bad guys, there's no lawyers. That's why it works. I always had this vision of a world without lawyers. And it's like the sunshine, and rainbows, and unicorns, and everyone's happy and cheering. And then the lawyer comes in with a briefcase like, it's this rainstorm, it's all that. I'm not going to see it every day. That is our biggest challenge, is trying to get companies to share stuff, trying to get the government to declassify stuff, trying to get the government, I'm not making this one up, trying to get the government to declassify something that's open source. Happened multiple times, not once, multiple times I was on VHS. It's like, but it's on CNN. Yeah, but we have a report. It's in ours, and we have it. So bad guys don't have that problem. They share information, they share intel, they share best practices, they work together, they collaborate, they've set up the forums, they will chat. If you're really good, they'll pull you aside and they'll instant message you and say, hey, you seem pretty good, let's work together on something. And they'll work together one-on-one. We'll use some kind of peer-to-peer app. It's all encrypted. Law enforcement can't get in the middle, it's peer-to-peer. And they'll get better, and they'll work together. Don't worry, they have safe havens. As much as we want to believe it, turns out the Russians really aren't friendly towards us. The Chinese are actually not friendly towards us. And there are other countries on this planet that may not dislike us, however, they will turn a blind eye for whatever reason. Make it rain, make it rain. So there's plenty of safe havens for the bad guys to operate. And they can buy, sell anything. Again, thanks to technology, we are the enablers of it. Cryptocurrency sounds great. Not really, if you think about what it is. And it is the enabler for a lot of that online fraud. Hey, when Phil Zimmerman put out PGP, was that back in the late 90s, and the FBI wanted to charge on the Arms Control Export Act, whatever that was, people said, no, I don't understand. It's like, that's nice, I get it. I'm a big civil libertarian too. However, if he didn't put it out there, someone else would have. I get it. But at the same time, every time we put out this technology that makes it so you can be more secure, and I'm not against that, you've got to accept the fact, though, that there's going to be a repercussion. That means the bad guys are going to use it too. And so you do want to protect legitimate users. You want to protect your privacy. However, the bad guys are using it too, and they're protected. And it's very difficult to catch them. And again, they're operating in safe spaces, and they're very good at their job. And if they're not good at their job, don't worry, they'll get better. And they'll get better in a secure environment. So just think about that. By the way, I just saw an article, speaking of spying on you, that apparently Amazon, Alexa, they listen to your conversations so they can process human language better. That's a great idea. Put one in your house. I'm not even going to say anything. I think you know what I'm thinking. So now here's the kind of crux of the matter right here. So there are a bunch of websites on the internet, and some of them want to be found. They want to be found with the ring. Some of them don't want to be found. Okay, it's just pretty straightforward. I have a website. Maybe it's some regular hacker forum, whatever. I'm not running it over .onion site. I actually registered it, but I have a lockdown. I'm not going to tell anybody it's out there. And I'll invite my friends. Got it. I'm still public, but I'm not public. Whereas I might have a website that has no domain, and you have to know the IP address. Those exist. I might have onion sites. I might have I2P sites. Whatever. So that's just laying the groundwork. So there's a bunch of websites out there, so keep that in mind. With that being said, some of those sites that want to be found are easy to get into. some of those sites that want to be found are not easy to get into. For example, your banking site. Well, the same thing goes for bad guy sites. You can get on to say, I don't think Valhalla's there, I think it's a Dream Market. Okay, you can get on to some of these onion sites pretty easy. You download your tour, you go search for it, you find it, just create a login, you create a login, you do your stupid CAPTCHA. You know you've clicked all the street lights, but it tells you you haven't. It gives you sidewalks, you know you clicked the sidewalks, but it tells you you haven't clicked the cars. You know you didn't click all the cars, but it lets you in. So now you're in the site. So it let you in, and you say, well, it wasn't easy to find, it wasn't hard to find, but it kind of let me in pretty easy, so it's not really screening me. But then there's other sites, and there are other sites you will find, and if you do somehow find them, you're not getting in. It's like you better have somebody vouching for you, you better have $10,000, you better have a code, all kinds of craziness. They're not letting you in. So that's the other half of it. Click. With that being said, now I'm going to kind of start bringing this thing home. With that being said, the skill sets required, where you're going to be at, take time to develop. So the first time I turned on computer, actually the first computer I think I turned on was a TRS-80. I still have my certificate from Radio Shack in 1983. So you fire that on, you're like, it's just blinking. What do? It's a green dot, it's just blinking. That's called a prompt. It's a prompt thing. So I didn't know what to do. And I had this thing called a book, and I opened the book. And it said, welcome, do this, and hello world, print, quotes, hello world, quotes. And then, then line 20, print, or I'm sorry, line 20, go to 10, hello world, how do I stop it, power off. Otherwise you don't do an infinite loop. So welcome, now you're worried about infinite loops. And eventually though, you get to the point where you're like, you're probably coding, you know how to get on forums, you got a couple of accounts set up, you're on a couple of IRC channels, yes, you still use IRC, or using Java, whatever. How did you get there? You started with the blinky prompt to all of this stuff. So there was a progression. Reality is, it takes time. Some people will never get there. The good Lord did bless them. Some people will get there faster than others, but there's still a journey. But now I kind of bring it home. So now thinking about that law enforcement, the investigators, and I'm kind of making fun of law enforcement, but actually, I really 100% mind law enforcement. I work with them every day. I train them. I train law enforcement all over the world. We've held training classes outside the U.S., inside the U.S., all over the U.S., different federal agencies. And what I teach them is how to go online, basically how to conduct undercover research, or I'll call it research, operation, whatever you want to call it. And you think the government teaches that. When I was military, I took an undercover class, and it was okay. But government, especially law enforcement, almost always focuses on what you can and can't do. They don't necessarily tell you how to do it. They tell you what you can and can't do, like trap numbers, all that stuff. But they're teaching you how to do it. So in some cases, you've literally got, and I'll use DEA for a good example. So DEA, they're really good at being on the street corner, doing a purchase. Here comes 20 agents, guns out, they make a purchase, and they arrest the guy. They're really good at undercover ops, 6 months buying cocaine from some Colombian drug lord. They're really good at that. Now you say, okay, let's go out to a tour site that's selling, opioids. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's on the computer. And then you remember movie Zoolander? Remember the scene? They're in the computer, and they try to smash the computer open because the files are in the computer. And, it wasn't a funny movie, but there's a few scenes, and that was one of them that was actually in the computer. So now how do you take that guy and say, okay, you're really good at investigations, you know how to buy drugs, you know how to talk the language. However, you're going to buy from someone you can't see, so you can't see the facial expressions, you can't see the gestures, you can't see this person crazy, you want to whatever. He's I don't even know where he's at. He's online, and sometimes you don't know how to get a hold of him, how to even contact him. So maybe in a lot of cases you're starting there. Now think some of these Eastern European guys. They're out there selling point of sale malware, really good stuff. They got infect. How do they infect? Use a simple phishing campaign. Where do you get tools for phishing? I rented from a botnet. Who has the botnet? Igor. Where Igor did it? Oh, he ran an exploit 6 months ago. He's been using this thing and renting it out. Where he did it? And all of a sudden, you start looking at these connecting dots, and you're trying to bring maybe like an FBI person here who did money laundering cases or insider trading. Okay, you're gonna go find how they're laundering all this money from the credit cards that they stole. Again, it's in the computer. So there's a huge gap there. At the same time, law enforcement saw you have fantastic digital forensics IT guys. Yep, they're great. Give them a hard drive, they find the keyboard, they find the whatever on it, they pull the files off, they've got the evidence. They don't know how to go online and interact. They don't know how to conduct an investigation. It's a missing skill set. It's not an indictment, it's not a bad thing, it's just not what they do. But the entire way that the world is transferring crime from good old-fashioned, I mean, I miss the days of dime bags on the streets to, now you're buying, freaking drugs that, small amounts mixed in correctly are killing people. Not by onesies and twosies. You guys have seen the numbers. What are it, like 70,000 a year now? Yes, some of it's prescribed, opioids, there's a lot of it online. And then there's also people that actually don't die, that are doing stuff online, that are just worthless for the rest of their life because they're just thriving. Remember, it's not called dope by accident. So, you're taking these people and you're bringing them into this world that's all digital. It's global. It's the sources of where it's originating from are unknown. You're saying, okay, you're a counterterrorism expert. You're really good at that. We want you to get on this jihadi website and see what you can find out. How the hell do I get on the jihadi website? We usually used it undercover, and he was in, Baghdad. He was a source of intel. And I'm in freaking Washington, D.C. How do I get on that website? So the whole point is, you got to get them up quick, fast, in a hurry, so that they can make a dent in the badness. And again, this is a cheesy little example just to show you, there's a progression. Bad guys, everybody, even good guys, bad guys, they all start out with a blinky green light. Good Lord willing, they're not writing infinite loops 3 years later. I want to believe. Real quick case study, just to make the point. So down top, Max Butler, he was Iceman. Funny thing about him is it was actually an operation called quarterback by NCFTA. So FBI undercover Keith Malarski. Read that book, Keith. I don't get a dime for that, but it's a good book. They actually took over the server. He was the guy that was kind of put it all together. But his starts, just to make the point, he starts out just with a computer enthusiast. His dad had a computer shop. He goes to college, starts talking to guys on internet, IRC channels and meeting folks. Starts dabbling in Wi-Fi. By the end, he's running the world's biggest carding forum. He's like one of the top guys in the world. He's been doing it. He is very technical. It was just like, if you watched his progression, you're like, and you're gonna, it took Keith years. And Keith wasn't the only one. It was actually multiple federal agencies years. By the way, they got like maybe 1 or 2 guys. So how many resources, by the way, did it take to get like 1 or 2 guys? Thank God they got him, because now there's no more underground carding forums. That was sarcasm. There's a whole bunch of them. The next guy, Alexi Bellman, he's another one. He starts out freaking gamers. It always starts with gamers. He starts out the gamer, he's pissed off, somebody breaks in, learns how to, get revenge. Then what happens? He starts learning WordPress, exploits, script kiddie stuff, starts breaking in Eastern Europeans, little e-commerce platforms. By the end of the day, he's working for FSB, whatever how Russian new KGB is called. He's working with them. He's behind the Yahoo breach of 1.5 billion credentials. So here's a kid that starts with little WordPress vulnerabilities. A couple years later, he's working for the Russian government. And at the same time, he's also got his other gig going on where he's still stealing credit cards and doing all that crap. So again, nation-state actors, people that are sympathetic, that do work with nation-states, you will find them on the forums. They got to hone their skills somehow. The last one, this guy, everybody remember Team Poison? I always want to think Velvet DeVoe. Poison, dude. Hey, I was in the 90s. He's one of the founding people with Team Poison. Again, another gamer, same thing. Somebody hacked his account, gets pissed off, or he's got this whole hacking stuff, starts hacking, forms Team Poison. Guess where he ends up? Joins ISIS, is teaching ISIS hackers how to hack. Happy ending, he gets whacked by a drone strike. See the point? They start with something that seems benign, and they develop into something way bigger. And that's free. You ever go to FBI's website, most wanted cyber criminals? Worth a read. Go look what they're out there for. Again, that's some of them. And they're not wanted because they're found. They're wanted because they're not found. And they're out there and they're operating. And again, like I always say, until they find Jesus, they're not going to stop. The money's too good. It's too easy. And what they're doing is they're creating wares, and they're selling the wares online for the next group to come in and make it even easier for them. And it's like just multiplying. And thank God we're interconnecting every damn thing in our lives, because then what you're doing is you're doing a fantastic job of creating an even bigger target space for them to target. I just can't wait to move on IPv6. I don't know about you. I'm all over it. Was it 2 to the 128 possible combinations of IP addresses? That's 1 or 2. Put that in your address and smoke it. It ain't gonna happen. So we're not making it better for ourselves. We're actually making it worse by interconnecting everything. But that's a whole other presentation why Steve should live in a log cabin in the mountains for us. So the takeaway from all of this is that thanks to technology, again, I'm not like tech is actually, I'm okay with technology. Ironically enough, I've been doing it forever. But we keep interconnecting things. As a result of that, we are creating a bigger threat space. As a result of a bigger threat space, we're enabling people from all over the world to collaborate and learn how to take advantage of the threat space. As a result of that, they're having more and more success. You're trying to counter that. And the worst part about trying to counter is we're not even following best practices from the 90s. So think about that. Go back and find a book from the 90s that says what you should and shouldn't do. And I promise you that some of the breaches in the last just a couple of years were not following those best practices. So as a result, now you're trying to get enough law enforcement investigators out there to counter this threat that's always ahead of you because they've got more experience doing it and they have better places to operate, more secure places to operate. They can keep doing it, keep getting better, and keep learning. My time is done here. No more questions. But I will throw up that. If you are interested in submission, again, Aaron couldn't be here, but it's the International Journal of Cyber Research and Education. There is, I'm sure he's going to zoom in on that. I'm sure he's going to make that available for everyone. There it is. All right, he's going to zoom in on that, and you're all going to find it. Otherwise, you can reach back to the folks that putting this together. I'm sure they can share contact information. With that being said, does anybody have a question? Otherwise, I'm going to enjoy Flood City. No, I'm not. I'm going to get my car and drive back to Pittsburgh. Sir?
How receptive is law enforcement?
To what? To the teaching? They're very receptive. Their problem is they get limited to what they can do once they go back to their agencies. When they're told, like, you can't do that. It's like, but I got to go onto that website. You can't go onto that website because you're not. What's that? Yeah, that's the biggest challenge. I'm telling you, world without lawyers, you just don't understand. It would be sunshine. All right.
That's a quick question. What scares you the most about these interconnected devices? Like, is there a specific vulnerability or a specific hole or even privacy? What concerns you the most about interconnected devices?
I'll tell you what it is. And sincerely, it's not any one thing. It's the notion that we are plugging the damn world in and we are not ready for this. Not even security-wise. There have been study after study saying the effects of these things on people. So forget the 0 days and the exploits. The technical thing, that's a whole other batch of issues. The fact that we are plugging everything in, thinking we're simplifying our lives, but the studies are starting to show we are getting dumber. We are getting dumber. I tell you what, there have been some serious studies on these and attention spans and brain activity with these things. I'm telling you, it's not, the evidence is overwhelming. Look at people. What was the guy that found it out? Was it Facebook that came out and said, "Yeah, this is kind of a bad idea," and then he kind of backtracked on that? What was his name? He was one of the co-founders of I think it was Facebook. What's his name? Who was it? He's the one who like tweeted and said, "Yeah, it wasn't. It was addictive, blah blah blah." And then he kind of backtracked. Well, we didn't mean to be addictive. Like, go read about it. It's not, we've opened a can of worms, we can't put it back. So to me, it's not about vulnerabilities so much as what it's doing to humans. The desensitizing of humans, making us more dumber, all kinds of stuff like that. We're just not using our brains, we're going to this. I got a question, I'll just look it up. I don't think about it, I don't try and solve problems. I don't, God forbid, actually open my refrigerator to see if I need eggs. I need to let the Bluetooth, I'm not making this up, there is a Bluetooth egg carton that will tell you need to buy eggs. I mean, find everyone seeing this. All right, so good luck. Good luck, America. I am going to that mountain. My log cabin.